If you were smart, you'd know the cities vote blue and the counties vote red. Well, don't you sound like a peach? First of all, I have probably a dozen videos on the ways that the Trump regime is explicitly harming red rural America. And I will definitely stand by my statement that there's no such thing as red states and blue states. That in every red state, there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who did not vote for and do not support the Trump regime. When we're looking at Congress and we're looking at state legislatures, every red state is a heavily gerrymandered purple state. Also, this simply isn't true. It's not true that the cities all vote blue and the county all votes red. In fact, in the video where you are commenting, that blue belt in Alabama, several of those counties that go 70, 80+% blue are very, very rural. Also happen to be predominantly Black. The places in rural America in the county that go red, guess what they tend to be? Very, very white. But in every rural place, in every county, there are blue voters, and there are definitely red voters in every city. One of my neighbors on my street is a big Trumper, and I live in Portland, Oregon. We are not clear-cut like this. America is a mishmash. We are two separate nations, but we all live side by side with each other. The issue here is that we have two distinct groups of people who have a completely different way of viewing the world. We are living two separate realities in America. That is the unfortunate truth. The line is ideological. The line is on worldview. It's not actually based on location. Yeah, cities tend to go more blue because they have more highly educated people. They tend to be much more racially diverse. And we know the more educated people are, the more they tend to vote for Democratic candidates. And we know that non-white Americans tend to vote more heavily Democratic. But I think it's deeply flawed to view our voting this way, to view our nation this way. Because it contributes toward collective punishment where you say, well, that whole county went red. Well, that whole state went red. Cool. As a nation, we went red. So do we all of us as American people deserve collective punishment? Pretty sure comfortable blue voters in blue states would balk at that idea. And yet they still wish collective punishment on red states or red counties, failing to understand that no children in those locations voted for Trump, but it is children who will suffer the most. I will continually say that. Millions and millions and millions of children, both here and around the world, are suffering and dying because of Donald Trump, because of what he let Elon Musk do to USAID, because of what the Republicans are planning to do to SNAP and to Medicaid. Children are suffering and dying. None of those kids voted for Donald Trump. But also, there are blue voters in all of those places. And one of the key elements of a resistance against fascism is that we vigorously defend the most vulnerable. We vigorously defend those that the regime is coming for. Black folks in red states, women in red states, trans folks, queer folks in red states, immigrants in red states who didn't vote for and don't want what is happening, they are in the most precarious position. And so we don't abandon them to this idea of collective punishment. But again, we have to address the ideological difference that exists, the fact that Americans are living in two separate realities. We all reside right next to each other, but we are living in two different Americas. That is the core thing that has to be addressed. It's not urban versus rural. It's not city versus county. It's two incredibly disparate worldviews.